Super Bowl 60 is just 5 days away. We predict the performances of Kenneth Walker, Rhamondre Stevenson, and TreVeyon Henderson while giving you the best rushing player props for Super Bowl 60 on today's episode of Locked On Fantasy Football.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NFL fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Fantasy Football, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. I'm one of your co-hosts, Michelle Magdziuk, and when I'm not doing this, I'm a researcher and fantasy analyst with NFL Network.
And I'm your other co-host, Vinnie Iyer. When I'm not doing this, I'm writing about NFL fantasy and betting for sportingnews.com.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. The good news is that we're going to give you a lot of bets that we like today. We gave you some yesterday. We're going to give you more all week long as we talk about Super Bowl 60. Today, we're going to focus on the rushing player prop bet. So really getting into these running backs and some of the rushing performances maybe that we expect from the quarterbacks as well, particularly Drake Maye, because it's not like Sam Darnold is a big rusher. But before we get into all of that, let's discuss the latest news that we just got, that Matt Nagy is going to be the new offensive coordinator of the Giants. This was a shocking one to me. I felt like they were going to, go after Cliff Kingsbury, which they did. They interviewed him, but it seemed like he was going to be the guy. And then all of a sudden, they hired Nagy. So I personally don't love it because he couldn't get the most out of Mahomes. Now I know like the weapons weren't the best, but I mean, it's not like outside of Malik Neighbors, it's not like the Giants are just have all of this insane talent there, right? So with Mahomes under Nagy had 27, 26, and 22 passing touchdowns. His fantasy points dropped vastly under Nagy as well, 24 and a half in 2022. He averaged before Nagy got there with Bieniemy, and then that dropped to 17 and a half and 17.7 in 2023 and 2024 before rising a little bit this last season. But I want to talk about Jaxson Dart with Nagy, right? Because I've really, really liked him so far. Like after the season, I thought I was going to be super high on him coming into next year, but I don't love this Nagy hire.
Yeah, I'll give you a little bit of hope, Michelle, just a little bit here, that Matt Nagy does come from the Chiefs, where Mike Kafka did come from. So the one thing they might have said is, okay, if Kingsbury's not going to give us exactly what we want, and I think they're a little bit wary of turning Jaxson Dart into a running first type quarterback, right? They don't want him to be necessarily Jaden Daniels or Lamar Jackson. They want that to be part of his game, much like Josh Allen, but not just dominate his game and also develop him well as a passer. So the one thing with Nagy, look, he didn't call plays there. I know their production went down. Eric Bieniemy is back in Kansas City, maybe just a comfort level there with the personality that could be in play for Patrick Mahomes. But there are going to be some things that definitely cross over, right? You had Mike Kafka not only as the offensive coordinator, but he was the interim coach, and he took over down the stretch. So there was some familiarity with the Chiefs' adjacent system that you can look at. So I think they went with, okay, where do we not have to blow up everything, but still get a fresh approach? And I think this is the way they did it with Jaxson Dart. Now, it may not sound exciting, but keep in mind he did do something with Mitchell Trubisky. Now we know that there's not a lot there to do with Mitchell Trubisky, but Jaxson Dart is way more talented. He physically has a big arm, has a lot of experience, can throw the ball downfield everywhere. I know Trubisky had a big arm as well, and Trubisky was a decent athlete, but not like Dart. Dart is a guy that can get all over the field and get done. So I think Matt Nagy alone, if this was the situation where he was the coach and the play caller, I might be a little bit worried. But you have John Harbaugh. He has some oversight on what they're doing. So I think the biggest thing now, Joe Schoen keeping him as the general manager, filling out those holes, right? Offensive line is one thing you look at. They're kind of makeshift, but they were better than expected up front. So let's solidify that, maybe get that second weapon. And I think that's going to more determine what they do. But I think this is actually good for the passing game and downfield pass game. I'm not so sure it's as good, however, for the running game with Cam Scatterbo.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? So much with the Chiefs offense was spreading the ball around, not just for the receivers, but also in the backfield, right? We never had that clear cut running back one. Now, a lot of that came with Pacheco's injuries and all that. Maybe he would have been the main lead guy more consistently if he hadn't gotten injured. But I think that worries me a little bit with Scadaboo, right? Because Tyron Tracy's fine. He's a fine player. Like, they can get him involved with Scadaboo back there more often. We don't know if they'll bring in anyone else. So I am a little bit worried with Cam Scadaboo with this hire. I will say with Dart, you brought up the rushing yards that, they don't want him to be a full-time run first quarterback, right? And what was nice about Nagy, he did not limit Patrick Mahomes running at all. Mahomes actually had a career high 422 rushing yards and 5 rushing touchdowns this last season under Nagy. So, that can still be there for Dart. And that's what we're going to need, right? Because I don't expect him to 30 touchdowns next year. Maybe he can, but that would just be the cherry on top, right? We really need those rushing yards and rushing touchdowns. And we'll see what other weapons they add. And if Malik Neighbors can truly be healthy by training camp to get that practice in with this new offense.
Yeah, I'm going to be cautiously optimistic. I'm not going to be over the moon and just be thrilled. I mean, look, more and more I fade away from Todd Monken and the continuity that it could have kept with John Harbaugh. I think it's okay. It's okay in the end that he didn't end up with a former Lamar connection or a former Jane Daniels connection, right? I think it's okay. This shows that they have a lot of trust in Jaxson Dart just being a complete quarterback for them, which is good. And we want that again. The complete guys are what get it done. I mean, you saw that with Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen. They put up some complete seasons, and we want to see that. I don't see Jaxson Dart being totally reliant on scoring short rushing touchdowns. He's not that big of a guy. I think he can still get them, like 5 or 6 per season, but I don't think you want him pounding and pushing at the goal line and all that. So I think he's going to have to get it a little bit done through the air. I think having, again, the guys that he had last year was a pretty good baseline. So they know if he has a good slot like Wan'Dale Robinson, he's going to do well. Give him some tight ends who can make plays, and then get Neighbors back. And you might be cooking with gas here. So I think it's going to come down to a lot of the talent around him. I think the scheme will just be fine. But again, it's going to be really on the general manager to really put Nagy and Dart in position to succeed.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's jump into the Super Bowl 60 and some of our favorite bets. We're going to focus on rushing player props today. We'll get into all of that right after a quick break. Let's be real. No one starts a business for the joy of calculating tax withholdings or managing payroll spreadsheets. That's where Gusto comes in to take the stress out of payroll, benefits, and HR so you can focus on running your business and supporting your team. Gusto is an all-in-one remote-friendly payroll and HR platform that makes managing your team simple, transparent, and fast. Whether you're hiring, onboarding, or paying employees, Gusto helps you do it all from one place without the hassle or the hidden fees. Gusto's automated tools like offer letters, onboarding materials, and direct deposits save you hours every week. And knowing you can reach certified HR experts anytime will give you the peace of mind that you need. Try Gusto today at gusto.com/LockedOnNFL and get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's right, 3 months of free payroll at gusto.com/LockedOnNFL. One more time, that's gusto.com/LockedOnNFL. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff, the final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel is making sure you are right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding with the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, this is the game everyone's been waiting for. This is where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels bigger. It's a perfect way to cap off the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to the final whistle. Vinnie and I will be giving you all of our favorite Super Bowl 60 bets on FanDuel all week long. So come and join us in the fun. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count, because after the Super Bowl, the season is over. Last call for football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. I want to just thank you all again for making Locked On Fantasy Football your first listen of the day. And I want to remind everyone, if you haven't yet, go sign up for the Everydayer Club. You get our show Monday through Friday, every single day, ad-free. And then you also get access to members-only Discord, and then also a lot more. So go check it out. It's just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedonfantasyfootball.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. All right, let's get into these Super Bowl 60 rushing props. Now, both of these defenses are very good run defenses. The Seahawks this year in the regular season, they were the number 3 rush defense overall, number 1 in efficiency and yards per carry, allowed the second fewest rushing touchdowns. Like, they were just a really good run defense overall. And the Patriots have come on like crazy recently. They have not allowed a rushing touchdown in any of their last 4 games. Only have allowed 69 rushing yards per game in that span. And as long as they have Milton Williams on the field, it seems like they're an absolute elite rushing defense. I will say, though, the running backs that they faced in the playoffs, I mean, Kamani Vidal led the Chargers in that game. Woody Marks for the Texans was the leader in that game, and Broncos RJ Harvey. So it's not like they face these elite running games. However, it will still be difficult. So let's start with the rushing attempts here. Looking at the rushing attempts, they have Kenneth Walker's over under 18.5, Rhamondre Stevenson at 14.5, TreVeyon Henderson at 5.5, super low for him. They do not expect him to be involved. Drake Maye at 6.5, and then Sam Darnold at 2.5. Among that group, which are your favorites here?
Yeah, I'm going to say that Kenneth Walker is my favorite because, number one, he doesn't have competition. Well, we'll see how much they use, like these other dudes that they have, George Holani, some of these other guys that are kind of helping to replace Zach Charbonnet in the lineup. But when you look at it, I mean, they're very relentless and sticking with the run as well, 18.5, where this is a team that did run 50-50 in terms of run-pass balance throughout the season. And if they're ahead, you're in great shape because they're definitely going to give Kenneth Walker more than that amount. Now, if they're behind, you just hope it's not a total blowout here to the point where they abandon the run. I don't necessarily see Clint Kubiak doing that, and I don't see the Patriots running and hiding. I just don't see them just blowing away this defense and pulling away. So the game should be close, and that's all we need here. Now, if the Seahawks win, we're in business here for sure, because they should lead and win. If any team can just control the action in the fourth quarter, it would be Seattle because of the running game. So when you look at this with Kenneth Walker, I do like the over there at 18.5 in terms of the rushing attempts. Now, I'm not sure how efficient he will be overall in this one. It could be very inefficient. It could add up to like 53 yards, something of that nature, but that's going to put him above where he needs to go in terms of volume. So I think getting 3 yards of carry, so you put that together, again, 18.5, you're looking at around 57 yards. If he gets that, he's probably going to hit this number. Yeah, and they're just going to stay balanced a little bit more. Now, Rhamondre Stevenson, look, he wasn't getting this consistent volume until the playoffs, and all of a sudden he's getting all the work. And TreVeyon Henderson, you have 14.5 for Rhamondre. That's only 4 less than Walker, who's handling the workload. So I don't know if I can go to either one of these. They've been fickle with TreVeyon Henderson's usage all season long. He's disappeared in the playoffs. So I think I'm going to go with Walker. I would feel comfortable taking the over there, but under if I had to go with Stevenson or Henderson, but I think I want to stay away from both of those.
Listen, I think the best bet of this entire game might be TreVeyon Henderson over 5.5 rushing attempts. Yeah. It's at plus odds to it, plus 112. So you're making more money on this bet because they're saying it's for some reason less likely to happen than the under at minus 148 they have. I don't really understand this. Like in the wild card game, he had 9, so well over the 5.5. In the divisional game, he had 12 carries. Yeah, only 3 carries in that conference championship game. There was a couple things that came into play there. It was a very tight game in a snowstorm, and Stevenson just has the body type and the experience more to trust him in that type of game than a rookie. And it's not like he was going to really break off these huge runs, which is his best asset in that type of weather. And then he also was dealing with a slight shoulder injury. He got a little banged up in that Houston game. He was on the injury report entering that conference championship game. He still played, only 3 carries, but you would think after a couple weeks, that week break, he'll be better. So I can't imagine he doesn't get at least 6 carries in that game. I am smashing that. That is my favorite one here. Now, rushing yards. They have Walker at 73.5 for his over-under, Stevenson at 49.5, and Henderson, again, only at 17.5. I'm, again, just smashing that because I think he gets 10 carries in this game. And he could also just get that in one carry. And then we have Drake Maye at 36.5 and Sam Darnold at only 6.5 is over-under for rushing yards, with Rashid Shaheed, a sneaky one here, at 4.5 rushing yards. I kind of don't hate it because he gets at least one carry in pretty much every game. It's been 8 of 11 games for the Seahawks. He's had at least one carry. So it just depends on, he really only gets one, at the most 2. So will he get the 4.5 in that one carry? That's what you got to bet on.
Yeah, I feel a little bit more comfortable not necessarily going for the TreVeyon Henderson volume, but I'm looking at both the numbers here for TreVeyon Henderson. The 17.5 is the number for the rushing production, and then you add in the receiving production, which we know and well documented. I've brought it up many times on the show. The Seahawks struggle to cover backs out of the backfield. Now, Stevenson is also a capable receiver. So if I'm going to go with anything, I want to go with the combined yards there with the 77.5 for Stevenson and 24.5 for Henderson. Like a rushing alone, it's a little dicey, right? Because I don't know exactly the usage between those two backs. Now, I want to think that they want to use Henderson more, but then I hedge my bets a little bit by giving it up in the passing game, and then you get there. And Walker, look, he's not going to do a lot here that I would trust. Look, it's even pretty high. I mean, you're calling 97.5 combined scrimmage yards. That seems awfully high for me for a guy that doesn't catch passes. So I think the Walker usage, and it could be inefficient, but in terms of the production, I think I would side more with Stevenson or Henderson. I wouldn't go both. I think Henderson gives you the better value here for sure. So you go that direction. I do really like Drake Maye, however, in both. Maybe I don't want to play his rushing attempts alone, but I would play it in a parlay here with his rushing yards at 36.5. I mean, he was their leading rusher in the last game. He's had 10 carries in 2 out of the 3 playoff games. He knows he's going to have to make stuff happen with the legs. And this team, Seahawks, have faced Jane Daniels when he was healthy. They can give up the rushing yards to some of these guys that are a little bit more mobile. Even Brock Purdy, with very limited wheels, got over 20 rushing yards on this team. So I do like it, 35.5, and combining that with Drake Maye's nice total here of 6.5 rushing yards. I think he goes over both of those totals. So that's where I would feel actually the most comfortable here with all that. Then coming down to the Patriots combined scrimmage yards.
Yeah, I really like Maye as well. So I said I like Henderson. I think Stevenson's a hit or miss. I mean, he got a huge workload in that conference championship game, 25 carries, still only had 71 total yards in the game, didn't have a reception. So that one's a little iffy. And then with Walker, we both expect it to be pretty low efficiency overall. Maybe he'll have to do it in the receiving game, which he has done the 2 playoff games. So possibly if you're going to take it there, I'd rather go, even though it's a high number at 97.5, I'd rather take his scrimmage yards than his rushing yards at 73.5. But I'm pretty much just staying away from Walker in that term there with the total yards. Now with Maye, I'm with you. I love that 36.5 over under for him with rushing at least 65 rushing yards he's had in 2 of the 3 playoff games. And the Seahawks have allowed the 4th most yards per carry to quarterbacks this year. So they've been really good against running backs, not so much against quarterbacks. So I think they're going to need him to run like crazy, right? Like Drake Maye is going to have to take off and run if they have any chance in this game. So I really like that as well. What about Darnold at 5.5? It's super low. He did hit it in that conference championship game at 9, had no yards in the divisional round though.
Yeah, that's flipping a coin to me. Like, I don't see that. That's going to be more like luck, right? I mean, you'll get flushed out and have to fall up forward and get there. I don't think they're going to deviate from when they're most successful is when Darnold's not running out of there. And I just don't want to trust that. I mean, I don't want to stare and wait for that. It's not exciting either. Like, you just have to hope you literally need to stumble into that. You have to have him run out and fall down and get what you need. And yeah, I'm going to stay away from Sam Darnold. I don't know if I even want to go under again. It's the number I think is just right there. With the numbers for the legitimate runners in this game, including Maye, are much better. So, if I had to go with someone who leads the team in rushing, I think I would side. However, on the Patriots side over Walker, I think it's pretty clear how we're going. I think Rhamondre Stevenson would seem to be it because we want some plus. He's plus 250. Drake Maye's plus 650. If you're a little bit daring there and want to push the envelope, but I don't want to side with Walker at all on the side, and that means I'm not siding with Darnold either for any rushing production.
Yeah, so they do have a bet most rushing yards in the game. Obviously, like you said, Kenneth Walker is at the top there at minus 185, though. So like we think he's going to be inefficient. There's a chance like he will get the most volume, but I mean, with his efficiency, and then you're just not getting much payout. I honestly think Drake Maye at plus 650 isn't the craziest way to go. If we expect all these running backs to kind of struggle, right? And Henderson could get it too, and he's at plus 2,000, right? He needs to break off one of those long runs, and there he goes. He probably has it. But Drake Maye seems like the most realistic option at the best odds, right? At plus 650. So if I was going to get crazy there and go with that bet, I would go with Maye at plus 650 to lead the entire game in rushing yards. Let's take a quick break, and then we will get into more rushing props to close up today's show.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. February can be a lot. Flowers, candy, stuffed animals, and so much talk about relationships. It can honestly feel like everyone else has it all together with their love life. But here's the truth. Whether you're married, dating single, or just focusing on you, most people are still figuring it out. No matter where you are in your romantic journey, therapy can help you find your way. It can help you get clear on what you want, what feels heavy, and how to take some pressure off yourself. Therapy can help you recognize patterns that might be weighing relationships down. It's easy to assume everyone else has the perfect relationship, but most people are working through something. And even if you're not in a relationship right now, therapy can help you feel more confident in what you want moving forward. Biggest thing, it reminds you you're not behind, you're right on time. BetterHelp has licensed therapists in the U.S., and they do the initial matching work for you so you can focus on your goals. And if you want to switch therapists, you can do so at any time. Check it out. Sign up and get 10% off at BetterHelp.com/LockedOn. That's BetterHelp, BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/LockedOn. This episode of Locked On Fantasy Football is also brought to you by TurboTax. Tax season doesn't need to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employment forms and work for you to get every deduction. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't do this for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. All right, it is time to close the show looking at the scoring numbers here for the rushing. All right, let's also get into another fun thing to do is the longest rush. So right now, Kenneth Walker has the number at 14.5. You've got Rhamondre Stevenson at 12.5. Drake Maye at 13.5. And TreVeyon Henderson going down there at 7.5. So this is very interesting, right? He's the big play runner and he's available. So I think it's back to Maye and Henderson here for the guys that we're looking at for this as well.
Yeah, I mean, it absolutely is. With Walker, like he could hit the 14.5. He can have one nice run. He did in the playoffs, his longest runs in each game, 15 yards and 11 yards. So, I mean, he didn't hit it in the NFC Championship game, just hit it in that divisional round. But when you look at the whole season, he had a 15-yard rush at least for his longest rush in 12 of 19 games this year. So I don't absolutely hate it, but it's at minus 122 as well if you take the over. So not the best odds. And it's not like I feel super comfortable he's going to get it. Now, Henderson, again, I guess I just really like him because all of his numbers are just so low. I don't expect him to have this monster game, but I expect it to be a solid game. I'm not picturing him to just be non-existent. 7.5 longest rush. Like, yeah, the last 2 games, 4 and 6. That's it. Again, he only had 3 carries this last game with the weather and maybe the shoulder injury, but he had a rush of at least 8 yards in 10 of 11 games prior to that 2-game stretch. So I think he gets it. I mean, he's so explosive. It just takes one run. And I do like, I mean, this dude has runs of 65 and 69, right? Like he has these crazy long runs this year. I think maybe it's not one of those, but it can certainly be a 10-yard run. And then with Maye being only 13.5 longest rush in 2 playoff games this year, 28 and 37 were his longest rushes. And again, I brought up that Seattle has allowed the 4th most yards per carry to quarterbacks this year. So yeah, it's again Henderson and Maye that we like their longest rushes, but definitely Henderson at 7.5 for me.
Yeah, and then you can push these all together, right? I mean, if you believe in those yards going up, part of it involves the longest rush. So I would bring that together, bring longest rush and rushing total here for Maye and Henderson. If you believe in that, go for it. Again, there are correlated bets that you can go. You can get a little bit more juice and a little bit more return on those things. Again, I think this is going to happen with these longer runs to pay off on the other ones. So definitely go that direction. Now, in terms of anytime score, no surprise, Kenneth Walker being the lead workhorse back for the Seahawks. They had a lot of rushing touchdowns from Zach Charbonnet when he was healthy, so no surprise, but it's not that great with the numbers. 195 overall. I think if you're going to go for it, you have to go for first touchdown scored plus 370. Of course, we have no idea who's going to win the toss. We don't know who's going to get the ball first, but it could also be a little tough sledding to score right away. So plus 370. If I had to go with Walker, I'm going to go for the little bit better odds here with plus 370 versus the 195. Now, if I'm going with anyone else to score, again, Drake Maye comes up well again at plus 280. And really, you can go Henderson, but he wasn't a big touchdown score, plus 500. And Rhamondre Stevenson at plus 145. So I think it's just better overall to go with maybe a Stevenson or Maye if you're going for it here. Henderson, again, he could reel off a long touchdown at any point, and then you're really in business if you get that. If one of these long rushes, you get the long rush and the score. So, again, I would still lean more Patriots side on this, except if I'm going for the first touchdown with Walker.
Yeah, the Walker one is going to be hard. I mean, he has 4 rushing touchdowns in the playoffs in just 2 games, 3 coming in the divisional round, but Patriots haven't a lot of rushing touchdown at all in any of their last 4 games. And the minus 195 odds is just not worth it. But I'm with you. If you're going to go with one, take the first time score. It's really, really risky. Like just put down $5 or $10 on it at max because it's first touchdown score. But at plus 370, Stevenson nor Henderson have scored a touchdown in the playoffs throughout these 3 games. Henderson did have 2 in week 18. And he's at plus 500 odds. Again, I like him in this game. And I think if they score a rushing touchdown, it's going to be one from far out, not one near the line with that against that Seahawks defensive line. So again, Henderson would have to break one off. And if he does, he'll get one. So I don't hate that. With Maye, he did score in the AFC Championship game, a rushing touchdown, but he has scored a rushing touchdown in just 2 of his last 16 games played. So don't just be chasing after that one, especially with plus 280 odds. It's not like this insane payout. So I don't love it. And then Darnold has 0 rushing touchdowns this season. So maybe of course it's possible he can get his first one of the year, but I feel like that's just a waste of money. Now, one last one, looking at the game rushing specials that they have over on FanDuel, lots of options here that you can go check out. I'll say my favorite one for a rushing special is Walker to have at least 10 rushing yards in each quarter. And that's at plus 240. So again, it's not like we're expecting this massive game from Kenneth Walker, but 10 rushing yards in each quarter equals 40 rushing yards for the game, right? I think he'll get 50, 60, maybe even 70 rushing yards. He's had at least 12 rushing yards in 7 of 8 quarters played in the playoffs this year. The one quarter he didn't was in the second quarter in the NFC Championship game, and the Seahawks had just one drive before the 2-minute warning. And once they got to the 2-minute warning, they were just throwing the ball and trying to go quick. So that one drive consisted of 4 plays, and he got one of the carries. But I'm not worried about that one quarter. He didn't touch the ball. So, yeah, I'm taking this Walker to have 10-plus rushing yards in each quarter at plus 240 odd.
Yeah, and he's another part of an offense where they're going to try to stick with the run. So you figure they'll say bounce from quarter to quarter, right? And if he does that, and again, if you do your rush yards per quarter, you just need to average 3.3 yards per carry. If you can get 12 carries in the entire game, 3 per quarter, then you're in business with that one. So a little bit of math could work in your favor. I'm going a little bit riskier with Drake Maye having 5+ rushing yards in each quarter. I could see this being a big storyline in the game where Drake Maye uses his legs a lot. I mean, it's a wild card that I don't think the Seahawks defense, they could have everything kind of under control with coverage and take away the deep ball, but lanes can open up, right? When you see things happen, when you're worried about Maye and his arm going downfield, things open up on the underneath routes, the zone coverage, and all of a sudden Drake Maye is taking off and getting what he can. So again, he's going to create. He's created in 2 out of the 3 playoff games when he's needed to, even in the snow game, right? He was doing things. He ran the ball when the game was on the line in the fourth quarter. He ran the ball when they needed a touchdown in the second quarter, right? So he's going to take it, and he's very consistent with doing that, and he's going to be very decisive as well. So I'm going to go a little riskier, plus 490 as a big payoff. So what we're saying is we like Walker for just usage and volume, but I think we like the Patriots side for actually the value and what we can find, especially with Henderson and Maye.
Yep, absolutely. That will be it for today's show. Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Fantasy Football. We will be back tomorrow to get into all of the receiver player props for Super Bowl 60. Make sure you subscribe and follow Locked On Fantasy Football so you get all the latest episodes. And if you're with us every day, you might as well join the Everydayer Club. It's just $5 a month or $50 a year. You get every episode of ours with no interruptions, no ads. You get to talk with us all the time on the Discord. You get the members-only Discord access so we can help you even more win your fantasy football leagues and get you prepped for next year. So go to lockedonfantasyfootball.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye, y'all.